All right, we're live. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. My name is Chris, and this is my channel. We love comics. And while I'm waiting for my four PGX books to come back, I have a Super Bowl purchase that I made. Um, I don't watch the Super Bowl. I mean, it's not anything like it used to be. Neither of the teams excited me anyway. So what I like to do, especially the past few years, is while everybody else is spending their time getting themselves highly intoxicated and stuffing themselves with a bunch of junk food, watching hours of TV. I'm doing things like working and trying to buy comics that I can find deals on. Normally I do pretty good on Super Bowl Sundays, but this time there weren't a lot of good deals. One of them I actually missed by like $20. I didn't have enough money to go past the amount I was going on, which is ironic because a day later I ended up somebody made a payment on one of their auctions, so I ultimately would have had the money. But I mean, you can't base things on what if. So I missed out on one opportunity, but I got this one. I don't think I got a deal on this one. I think I paid about what it might be worth, but that's okay. You can't get everything as a super steal. And I wanted to get something, and I saw this and I thought it'd be cool. Um, it's something that most people probably wouldn't get, but I don't worry about what others would or would not do. I worry about what I would or would not do. Because in the ultimate grand scheme of things, I'm responsible for the things that make me happy. And this will do that. So, one of the things I can always recommend to anyone out there, don't base anything on what other people will say. Don't buy something because somebody likes it. Don't not buy something because somebody else doesn't like it. If something makes you happy and you can afford it and it's not putting you in any kind of financial situations that you're going to regret, I say go for it and let the chips fall where they may. Too many people out there are always going to criticize what you do anyway. So if you spend your whole life trying to please everybody else, you'll never please yourself. And of all the ways to please yourself, why not do it in a way of buying yourself a comic? All the perverts that thought anything else, shame on you. So while waiting for a couple more people to come in to see that I am live, let's give a shout out to my Patreon members. If you want to be on my Patreon and support my channel and the 20 to 25 stray cats that I feed every day and take care of with medical bills and all that other fun stuff, you can join in at patreon.com/we love comics. Any amount is helpful and appreciated. But you'll get your name up on this list. So shout out to Seth Lord, Michael B, Kevin W, Dan L, Herbert R, Annabelle N, Jason B, Kim N. Blessed is one of our latest Patreon members. And the last ones we got, check out at YouTube, Kendall Kid Comics. Check out on Instagram, Scott WU077. Check out on Facebook, Stephen L. Turk Author. And once again, on Instagram, check out Silver Age Surfer _comics. So if you do join my Patreon and you don't want me to just put your name, and you want me to promote your social network or your YouTube channel or even your own personal business, just let me know at peacefulfeelings@yahoo.com, and I have no problem with doing that. And again, you'll get that every single video. That's my way of saying thank you. I'm trying to do a giveaway. Unfortunately, I mean, there's still 8 days left, so you never know. But I am trying to do, if we can get 20 paid members by the end of this month, which is February 28th, I'm trying to give away to one of my paid Patreon members an X-Men 96, which is about, in my opinion, about an 8.0 to 8.5 grade, which is worth between $200 and $250. And you could do the bare minimum of a $2 entry to do it. But we'll see what happens. So we have until February 28th to get 7 more people. It's not impossible, but you could do a $2 entry and you will be included in that. So, I mean, to take a chance on a $2 investment, which if you have a business could be technically a tax write-off, to potentially win a $250 comic. I mean, to me, that would be a no-brainer, but you know, what you do is your own situation. But like I said, $2 is the minimum to join anybody's Patreon, so I'm not asking for you to go above and beyond the minimum if you can't. But you'll get one entry for every $2 that you put in. So the more you put in, the more chances you'll get if and when we do the contests. And like I said, I set a low bar of only 20 people. It's not like some bigger channels that require, 10,000 likes to get something to happen or something like that. I think 20 is not unreasonable, but we'll see. I want to thank all of my members that are on my Patreon and supporting me. really helps and really appreciated. So here is the box. Let's see. We got GT Key Comic always here. One of my moderators is usually one of the first ones always to come and leave a comment. Always appreciated. Pino is here. Good to see you. Silver Age Surfer underscore comics. Just mentioned him in the Patreon. He is also here as well. Let's see who else. We got John Rowe. Welcome. Brian Norman is here. And says, Chris, watching from work. Did you get the Grail book back yet? Not yet. Um, One of the things I like that really I'm so appreciative is, and I don't mind the extra weight, is he actually, and I'm talking Daniel Patterson, the owner of PGX, said that he was going to take about 3 business days to press out that comic and do it right. And then also remember, if you watch my videos of showing the books that I send, one of the books has 6 signatures on it. So of course, they're not going to be able to do that overnight to verify all those signatures. So it's going to take a little bit, but I appreciate everything they do. And for them to take 3 whole days of pressing that book is going above and beyond. So, would I love to have had it the day after I sent it? Of course, who wouldn't? But if it's done right and they've given me the maximum grade it could get because they put the effort in, I mean, if it takes me 3 weeks to get it, I'm perfectly fine with that. I just was really excited about this one, and I still am. The To me, I don't know the grade like as usual. I don't want to know the grade. I haven't even asked, am I going to be happy or anything? I've just left it alone. But I am excited about not the fact that it's going to get a grade bump, but how high it's going to go. Because, like, if you watched the video of me unboxing it before I cracked it open, well, after I cracked it open, the entire front and back cover was light creases on the entire cover, front and back. Which is why, because I remember when I bought that book, I said, how is this book a 3.5? Because it was one of the most perfectly cut. And thank you, a shout out to one of my subscribers. I think it was Silver Age Surfer underscore comics, but if it's not, forgive me if I'm saying the wrong person. But they told me that the version of My Tales of Suspense 39 is one of the rarer ones in the sake of a lot of those books were miscut to where on the side where it says Iron Man, there's 2 quotes on the part where the I is, but on the man part, usually because they miscut it a lot of times, you'd only see 1 quote or none of the quote at all on the end. And also at the bottom of it, they used to cut it so much that you see on Tales of Suspense 39, there's 3 blocks where they're showing, Iron Man putting on his gloves and things like that. And the parts of the suit are on a table. Well, the last panel on the bottom, a lot of times the bottom is cut off, so you can't see below the table. So you'll only usually see the edge of the table, but there's supposed to be a blue area of the space beneath the table. And he said sometimes somebody has one or the other, but it's rarer to have both. And as a matter of fact, when I verified that, I checked on eBay, and this is just on eBay, what was for sale at the time or what was sold at the time. There were 157. Oh, wait, is this the right one? I think. Okay. Yes, there were 157 total that were sold or for sale, and only 22 of them had either one or both of those. So it's not something where it's a one of a kind, but it's something that is definitely rarer and more sought out for the people who really know about that. And I wasn't aware of that. So it's really cool to know that not only do I have the quotes on both sides, but it also shows the bottom of the table, which means it was cut perfectly. And I looked at that book and I'm like, how is this a 3.5? But you could not see the damage until after I cracked it open and after I took it out of the protective inner lining, that when I angled it towards the light, it was like a wrinkled mess on both sides of the cover, but it was light wrinkles, no color breaks. So when I talk about books needing pressings and dry cleanings, this one, let's put it this way. If this book got a 7.5, I would not be shocked. Now, would it get that high? It's not impossible, considering the only damage is a little rip on the top about the edge of the size of a pinky. There were also on the top of the book, like finger bends, like somebody when they were opening the book probably opened it from the top, and there were bends. Those also didn't have color breaks. Those also could be pressed out. So that book was a 3.5, and I have the label. I can't wait. That's why I'm so excited about that book. I mean, I've sent in a lot of key books to PGX, but I've never been so excited about this one because the amount of pressable defects that will improve that book. Just this is why I tell people all the time, get your books pressed and dry clean. Know about pressable defects. Look for them when you purchase something because you could find steals. And I want to thank my subscribers for pointing out the things about the double quotes and everything. And that's something, that's one of the things about making videos is you can learn stuff, even people that have been around in the comic book world since, for me personally anyway, since the mid 80s. And that's something I never knew about. So that's what I love about videos like this. But you guys are here for the box. I already opened the sides to make it a little bit easier, faster to open, but you guys know me, I'll always go in my rants. All right, this has a lot of packing peanuts, so I don't want it to go all over the place. I'm glad I kind of opened it with a little caution. All right, so they added a couple of flyers, they added the receipt. So this way I can show proof because, one of the biggest pet peeves I have of other YouTube channels is they'll always talk about, oh, I got such a great deal on something and then never tell you what the deal is. Or they'll tell you, like, for example, they bought a comic and paid $100 for it, but they failed to mention the eBay taxes or shipping costs. That is, so if you spent $100 on a book, but you spent $10 in taxes and $20 on shipping, you didn't spend $100 in the book, you spent 130. But people like to make it seem like a good deal when they ultimately might not be. So like I said, this one isn't a steal or anything. Like I said, this is not the lowest one that's even been sold on eBay. Many people would have passed up on this, but I don't care what anybody else does. I care about what I do. I saw this, wanted to get it. Won it, it was an auction. So it is a graded book. It's only a page. I've bought a couple of these before. That's what the PG is. It's not like it's a movie or anything for suitable for anyone under over the age of 13. But it's Amazing Fantasy number 15. Now, this one, if you know anything about Amazing Fantasy 15, and I've never had one in my hands, but there are only a small portion of that book has to do with Spider-Man. Like Detective Comics, for example, they had other stories. So this is one of the other stories, but I'll give you a prime example. A couple of years ago, I bought a page of Detective Comics 27, first appearance of Batman, that did not have Batman on it. It wasn't a Batman story. It was one of the other stories. And I bought that one for I think about $350, and people thought I was crazy. Well, I ultimately, years ago, sold that page on eBay for over $2,000. So like I say, I don't care what any other people think. I spent $350 on that book, sold it for about a little bit over 2,000. So I think I did pretty well on a page that had nothing to do with Batman. So as of now, I've never owned an Amazing Fantasy 15. So basically now I just need the front and back cover and about 99% of the rest of the pages, and I'll be complete. I'll just tape them all together. But if you see the ones with Spider-Man on it, you're talking in the thousands of dollars just for one page. With shipping and handling and taxes, I paid $201.16. So not a steal, but definitely did not overpay. But I know a lot of people won't buy pages. As a matter of fact, there's somebody I'm subscribed to, a channel, I forget their name. Don't get to watch them very often, but they made a video and other people have talked about this about low grade books. Why would somebody buy a lower grade? Or, for example, something like this. Well, if you can find anything for a deal and you could turn around and maybe in a year or two, or maybe right away, or maybe it takes 5 years, turn around and double, triple, quadruple your money, then it doesn't matter the grade. Also, people have to keep in mind, not everybody, has money to buy Amazing Fantasy 15 at a 5.0. Somebody may only be able, the only way they'll ever have a piece of Amazing Fantasy 15 is to buy a page, or to get a coverless copy, or to get a zero point 0.5. Because, like I've said all the time, my theme has always been low grade is better than no grade. And there are people out there that may never be able to afford to get an Amazing Fantasy 15. And if they could find like a coverless copy and it's something they can afford, well, why wouldn't they be excited? Because they own the first appearance of Spider-Man. I don't even own a coverless copy. This is the only thing I have of Amazing Fantasy 15, and I'm happy with it. Now, this one, again, I didn't buy it. I could have waited for cheaper deals on these because I've seen some that have sold for like 150, but then again, you have to add taxes on top of that. But it was something I was interested in. I thought that would be a cool thing to add to my collection. And like I said, I have a couple of single page grades, and you can make some decent money on those. I have 2 pages of Captain America #1, the first appearance of Captain America. Now, neither one of them have Captain America or the Red Skull, because it's also the first appearance of the Red Skull. Um, but I don't remember the price I paid for those, but I can do very well on those as well. So you can always make money on something if you can find a deal. Now, again, if you base it on the fact that 99% of the people say, oh, I'd never get that. Well, that's fine. That just means when I was bidding on this, that's all those people less that I have to worry about outbidding me for it. So if to me, if I would have, I always set a certain price. And if I get outbid, you know what? There's always another opportunity. But there are too many people out there that worry so much about what everybody else does and says, or, they want to fit into the group and feel part of a group instead of being their own individual, that they're so worried about what other people think that they forget about why they do what they do. As long as you're not, doing something illegal or immoral, as long as you're not doing something that hurts others, there's nothing wrong with having something like collecting something that no one else wants, because then that just means it's easier for you to collect. I mean, just imagine if everybody on the planet saw this auction and every person on the planet at the same time wanted this book. Just imagine the price that it would have sold for and the chances of me winning it if everybody on the planet was trying to get it. So if you think from a glass is half full perspective instead of always the glass is half empty, the pessimistic point of view, you're going to be a lot happier. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why my channel is so controversial, I guess, is because I don't fit into the groups. I don't fit in. I don't need to fit in with a group. I'm happy with what I choose to do, and I'm happy to share that with those that have a common similarity. And that doesn't mean the people that watch me approve of every single thing I do and say, but if you truly ever want to be happy, you cannot ever be happy if you spend your whole life trying to fit into somebody else's narrative or somebody else's goal, somebody else's idea, somebody else's likes and dislikes. It just, to me, that never made sense. So whether anybody here thinks this is a good deal or thinks it's worth buying, that's your opinion and you have the right to it. I own it. I'm happy about it. One day I'm sure I will be able to sell it and be able to sell it for a profit. How much? Who knows? But just to show, here is the receipt. Because remember, you have to have shipping and handling and taxes. So I won it for 170. But then, of course, you have almost $18 in shipping and a little bit over $13 for taxes. So a little bit over $30 extra, which is why it came out to 201.16. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it. So collect what you love. Don't give a darn about anybody else, what they love and what they don't love. I mean, it's always good to hear people's opinions, but don't base it on a group. If a bunch of people peer pressure you, that's one thing when you're 15 and you're trying to fit in. But when you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, if you're letting other people influence you based on joining a group, if you still feel the need to feel cool from a bunch of strangers telling you, oh, you're in our group because you like what we like, or you're in our group because you hate who we hate, um, time to grow up. Put on the big boy pants and stand up for yourself. So that's the story, and I'm sticking to it. You can hit the like button if you agree. You can hit the dislike if you disagree. Either way, if you want to be kind enough to leave a comment and let me know why you picked which one, by all means, let's have a discussion. That's why my people in the live chat, there's no fights. There's not always agreements with things, but no one tries to attack each other. We just have a civil conversation and enjoy the fact for a moment we got to watch something that we enjoy and participate in something that we love, which is comics. And that's why I didn't call this channel You Love Comics. I didn't call it I Love Comics. I called it We Love Comics. So thank you so much for watching. If you want to hit the like button or dislike, that's great. Join my Patreon because, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, you'll get your name up on every single video and get a shout out, whether you want just your name shouted out or one of your social networks or business or YouTube channel, for example. And if I can get 20 people by the end of this month, February 28th, we only need 7 more people to join my Patreon. And again, $2 minimum, which is the minimum to join anybody's Patreon. I'm trying to give away an X-Men 96, which, like I said, in my opinion, is about an 8.0 to 8.5 grade and valued between $200 and $250 as of now. Remember, the X-Men are coming to the MCU, and I think at that point they'll have righted the ship. Because remember, and this is another thing before I sign off, I'm going to talk about. Um, I see so many people that are critiquing the Captain America movie. I won't watch it. I knew it was going to be bad. This is not a shocker to me. And there are still people making videos saying, "Oh, the MCU is done and they should stop," and blah blah blah. Let's talk about reality about this. The reason that no one cares really much for the Thunderbolts, nobody cares much about the Captain America movie, and definitely Ironheart. You think Captain America is going to do bad? Wait until Ironheart comes out. I can guarantee you that movie is going to bomb before the first weekend is over because nobody cares about these characters. People have to understand that these were movies that were already made during all the DEI nonsense. And Disney is a business. Even if they make losses on this, they're going to use it as a tax write-off. So they're going to make money whether they make it at the box office or whether they reduce the amount of taxes they pay at the end of the fiscal year because they had a loss and they wrote it off as a business expense. Corporations don't work the way humans do. People need to understand this. So the Thunderbolts, the Captain America movie, and Ironheart were all movies that were already made, already had the DEI nonsense in it, and there was very little they could do to fix it without doing billions of dollars worth of reshoots, which they're not going to do at that point because they already put too much into it. I mean, Captain America, they did how many reshoots and it did nothing to change it, basically. It went probably from a unwatchable movie to a it's good enough to put out. That's not what you want. But if you also look at what is the one thing that's coming out this year that people are looking forward to, well, that's the Daredevil Born Again. Why? Because luckily with a TV show, it's easier to do reshoots. They redid the whole thing. And what are they doing? They're giving the core audience, us fans, who are the reason why these movies existed for so long and did so well, they're going back to the roots. So here's where I would be worried about the MCU. I'm not worried about this year because, like I said, all of these movies that are coming out, nobody really cares about. They're not going to do well. Disney is going to put them out for tax write-offs so they can make money on it, even if they know they're not going to make money. It's still going to be advertisement for them because remember, they say there is no bad press. Those movies were already made during the DEI era, and there's nothing much they can do about it. When I would worry is all the new movies coming out. Once they get rid of all the DEI hires and all the DEI BS, and this is my opinion, you can love it. You have the right to do it. Just because I think that way doesn't mean you have to. But once they start making the new movies, because I'm not even that excited about Fantastic Four. I want to be, but I see some bits of DEI in there, especially with them having a female Silver Age surfer. And yes, I know there is a female Silver Age surfer in the comics, but that wasn't who the character was starting out. You know, without Batman, there is no Batgirl. Without Superman, there is no Supergirl. Okay? Without Wonder Woman, there probably would be no Wonder Man. So my point is, it's always the first one, the reason why they got popular, why other versions come out. There would be no Miles Morales, and you guys know I love Miles Morales, if there was no Peter Parker. I don't mind seeing Miles Morales at this point because they're actually doing that character well. But you know, I would be concerned about the MCU is when they make the next set of movies where they're just starting out fresh right now, and they end up in DEI garbage. That's when I'm giving up on the MCU. I'm not giving up on the MCU this year because of the reasons I've explained. And I'm sure many of you will agree, even though many of you will probably stay silent about it. I think it's kind of like how the 2024 election went. Many people obviously voted for one over the other, and many people were probably very silent about it. So it's probably the same thing because a lot of people are afraid to speak their mind. I'm not one of those people. I mean, I'm Irish English. I'm Italian. I was born and raised in New York, and I'm a Scorpio. I am definitely not afraid to open my mouth and speak my words. Whether you agree with them or not is not anything I can control. But I really think after this year is over, and that's why the fact that they brought the Russo brothers back to direct the next couple of movies and they're re-changing what the Avengers was going to be gives me hope that the wrongs will be righted. We'll see, but I am optimistic. I don't even want to say pessimistically optimistic. I want to say I'm optimistic of the future. But anybody basing where the MCU is going to go based on this year is really just putting out clickbait so you can go watch their videos and they can make all the money off of, making you rage quit and think the sky is falling. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that kind of channel. That's why I'll never have 5,000 views on a video ever again, and I don't need them. Quality over quantity, and that's where you guys are. So speaking of which, let's do today's surprise subscriber shout outs. All you have to do to get a surprise subscriber shout out is just leave a message in the live chat. You don't even have to be a subscriber unless you want to hit subscribe or unsubscribe. I'll leave that up to you. Um, let's go with Mr. E, the low grade king. He says he only has 10 minutes. Hopefully he's at his job. Hopefully he does not get fired. And we're going to go with Nate Dogg. So both of you are today's surprise subscriber shout out. Silver Age Surfer says the new Captain America was okay, not the best, not the worst. I think the worst is still Thor, Love, and Thunder. I would say the Marvels. I haven't even watched it, and I know the Marvels would probably be the worst. But I mean, when you go on a first date, do you want a girl or a boy and the first impression is, yeah, they were okay. I mean, where do you think that date's going to end up in the long run? Yeah, you might have a quickie once in a while, or maybe you might date a couple of times. But I mean, if your first impression of on a first date is, well, you know, they're not the best, but they're not the worst. They're just, that's not marriage vibes. Like when I was dating, when I met my now wife, the day I met her, I already had a date planned with this girl who I was friends with for years. I remember this. She was actually an older woman. When I worked at McDonald's, everybody had a crush on her. She was a manager. And then years later, we ended up hooking up, which was a shock to me. She ended up coming to one of my parties one time, and we were together a couple of times. But we ended up ultimately being friends. And we were going on a date that was already planned. And then the next night we were supposed to see each other again, but in between, because we were both not exclusive or anything, we were, looking around. That's perfectly fine. We were both okay with that. Like I said, we were kind of friends with benefits in a way. But the next night, I ended up meeting who was going to be my wife, and I called the girl that I was friends with, that I was supposed to have a date with, and said, unfortunately, I have to cancel my date because I just met the woman I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And she completely understood. And to this day, we're still friends. Even though we haven't talked in a long time, things just fade into oblivion at certain points, and that's fine. That happens. But I knew as soon as I met my wife that she was going to be my wife. So what does that have to do with the movies? Well, if you're going into a movie and you're like, well, it's just okay, and it's like, it wasn't horrible, it wasn't the worst. I mean, that's not a good experience to have. You want to go to the movies to escape. I remember when I was a child growing up, I mean, seeing movies in the movie theater, like the original Star Wars, like E.T., like Raiders of the Lost Ark, movies that you went out and you were excited about talking about that movie and wanting to see it again, that it was an escape. Watching movies like The Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, so many other great movies that they just don't make anymore. To me, a subpar movie is just not worth even spending my money on. And I love Marvel, but I'm not going to give them my money in support of mediocrity, because then that just means, well, they're giving us the money. They must like it enough to keep coming. So let's just keep giving them just enough. It's kind of like CGC right now. That CGC has a fan base that the CGC knows they can do whatever they want, and the customer base will complain, but then they'll just say, here's my money. It's like that meme where you have the guy from, what's it from? That space, futuristic Futurama, where he's holding that money and says, shut up and take my money. That's kind of like companies like CGC are with its customer base. That you'll see video after video of people complaining about how much CGC screwed them, and yet they'll only have CGC purchases. So if you support mediocrity in the movies or in video games or in anything in life, well, then you're going to get what you give. And I'm not talking about individuals who just want to go see a movie to escape. I'm talking about as a whole, the masses, because they don't care about one person that goes to the movie theater or one family. So, Silver Age, I don't want you to think that's a personal attack, because obviously you have every right to go and there's nothing wrong with it. Um, if somebody bought you the ticket, that's even better. But my point is, if you want improvements, sometimes you have to stop what you love, take a step back and say, hey, when you're ready to give me quality, I'll come back and give you my money. Till then, I wish you the best of luck. And that's the difference between going on a date with somebody you just have maybe a good couple of nights with, a couple of months with, or a couple of years with, and the person you spend the rest of your life with. Don't settle for mediocrity. Otherwise, you'll have companies, like I said, like CGC, that can do no wrong, and their customer base will be mad. It's like an abusive relationship where somebody beats the other all the time, but they keep going back because maybe they have a lot of money, or maybe they convince them that they say they love them, and that's why they do it. Well, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me every time, you're a bleeding idiot. So my point is, I think that the time to worry and be concerned about the MCU or comic book movies in general is the next set of movies that they're about to start making. Are they going to pivot back to where things were that people appreciated, like making comic book movies for comic book fans and making quality movies? Or the DEI nonsense, or the companies like Sony who, to avoid losing the rights to their licenses, they just put out a movie every few years just to put it out so they don't lose the license. Those are the movies you shouldn't spend your money on. I mean, you're not an evil person if you do, but if you're supporting mediocrity, then that's what you're going to get. And that's just how life is. I mean, if that hurts or offends anybody, I mean, there's nothing I can do about that. And again, that's why my channel is so controversial. I'm not afraid to speak what many people are thinking who may be afraid to say because they're afraid of other people will attack them. I'm used to the quote unquote comic book community coming after me or not defending me. I don't need anybody's defense. I can stand on my own. It takes about 50 others to gang up on one person, but that one person is stronger than all 50 because of those 50, none of them could do it on their own because they need the energy of the others to gain their power. So be an individual, do things for yourself, and listen to other people's and respect other people's right to have an opinion, but don't live your life based on them because you're afraid somebody else might say, "Oh, look at that person. He did this when everybody else is doing that." It's like, "Oh, you know, you don't smoke, everybody else smokes." Well, that's wonderful. They're all dying of lung cancer 30, 40, 50 years later while you're in the peak of health because you didn't give in to the peer pressure. Like I said, peer pressure, save it for grade school. When you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, even to make it worse, a comic book community, if you're letting other people that are adults pressure you into buying or not buying something because the masses on their side say that they wouldn't do it or they want a specific way to collect, if you're allowing them to do that, it's time to take off the diapers and put on the big boy pants. Stand up for yourself and you won't get 3,000 views. You won't have 1 million subscribers, but you'll have integrity. And that should matter more, especially to your family and to your principles. So with that being said, if you want to like it, by all means, please do. If you want to critique the AI art, positive or negative, by all means, please do. Let me know what you thought about my purchase. You could say I'm absolutely crazy. You could say you absolutely would have never bought that book. But let's hear you say it in the comments section. Or you could say you loved it and you would have done the same thing. Or maybe you could say, hey, I listened to your advice and now I'm not afraid to listen or buy what I love and I don't care what anybody else says. And don't forget, it's not you, it's not I. It is We Love Comics. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you for watching. Give our shout outs a shout out. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or